Good morning, students. This is Arindam Bag here, and today we'll be dealing with Pablo Neruda. And first, I will give you some introduction about Pablo Neruda. Who is he? You can see that on the screen. As you can see, I'm using Wikipedia also for the informations. Now, if you check the syllabus, you will find that the poetry of Pablo Neruda. Tonight, I can write the way Spain was. These two poems are included in your syllabus. So, and I am assigned to deal with these two particular poetry. So, let us see who is Pablo Neruda. Now, as you can see, the name here Richard Elsia Neftali Reis Bozaloto. This is the name, original name of Pablo Neruda. And Pablo Neruda, the name which has been used over here, it is actually his pen name first. Later, that name was legalized, and now it is Pablo Neruda. So, who was this person? So, he was a Chilean poet and diplomat. Yeah, you can find that, and a politician. And one of the most important achievement he had in his life is he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1971. So Neruda became known as a poet when he was very young, actually only 13 years old, and he wrote in variety of styles. He was considered to be one of the surrealist poets actually, historical epics, overtly political manifestos, and prose autobiography. So not only the poetry, but he wrote several other things also, which includes manifestos, prose autobiography also, passionate love poems such as the ones in his collection 20 love poems and a song of despair. So, apart from that, Neruda occupied many diplomatic positions. Obviously, he is a poet, but it is not mandatory that not every poet they should be only poet in their life. They can be diplomats also, holding um, various important position in the administration, like we have in one case, if you remember, Geoffrey Chaucer. So he was also related to the royalty and held several important posts during his lifetime. So in his career, he visited many countries and served as a senator also for the Chilean Communist Party. So you can assume his political standpoint also. And President Gabriel Gonzalez Videla outlawed communism in Chile in 1948. That means communism was banned in Chile, and there was a warrant which was issued for Neruda's arrest. But friends helped him to hide, to avoid any arrest. Um, there was a particular sports city which is known as Valparaiso. I may not be able to pronounce this particular word in a proper way because it's a proper noun, and they might pronounce these things in a different way. So later on, Neruda escaped through a mountain pass and went to Argentina. So later on, uh, Neruda was a very close advisor to Chile's socialist president Salvador Allende. When Neruda returned to Chile after his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, Allende invited him to read the Estadio Nacional before 70,000 people. What is that? Estadio Nacional. Estadio Nacional originally has known as Estadio Nacional, in the is the state national stadium of Chile, and is located um, the district of Santiago. It is the largest stadium in Chile with an official capacity of 48,665. So it's a basically a big stadium. So Neruda later on, in the year 1973, September 1973, he was hospitalized due to his illness, cancer. He was suffering from cancer. At the time, there was a political coup, and Augusto Pinochet that overthrew Allende's government. Again, that means his life was in turmoil. First, he was uh, in the Communist Party. Later on, um, Communist Party was prohibited, and he escaped his arrest after the Nobel Prize. He came back. He was invited back, and Allende, President Allende, he invited him to Chile. But again, there was a political change. There was a political coup which was led by Augusto Pinochet, and which overthrew the Allende's government. And at that time, he returned home after a few days when he suspected a doctor of injecting him with an unknown substance for the purpose of murdering him on Pinochet's order. Neruda finally died in his house in Isla Negra, 23 September 1973, just hours after leaving the hospital. So there was a long report that he died out of heart failure. The Interior Ministry of the Chilean government issued statement 2015 acknowledging a ministry documenting indicating government's official position that it was clearly possible and highly likely that Neruda was killed as a result of the intervention of third parties. However, international forensic tests conducted in 2013 rejected allegation that he was poisoned. It was concluded that he was suffering from prostate cancer. Pinochet, backed by elements of the armed force, denied permission for Neruda's funeral to be made a public event. But thousands of grieving Chileans disobeyed the curfew and crowded the streets. So he was not only a poet, basically, he was a big figure in Chile. When he died there, the government said no, there should not be any public funeral. They don't want to give that opportunity because the poet Neruda himself didn't agree with the people who were actually in power. Now this is a clash of ideology, and it becomes so severe that people who are in power, they do not like to be criticized, they do not like to be discussed upon, they don't like to hear different words. They always like those people who will immediately accept or follow whatever they are up to. So here Neruda is a different kind of person who had a communist background, and who do not agree with the country's government, not all the time, but when some other governments were formed apart from the one which he backed. So there was a conflict. So Neruda often considered as the national poet of Chile, and have been popular and influential worldwide. And there was a novelist I would like to mention over here. His name is mentioned, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He's a Colombian novelist. He once called him the greatest poet of the 20th century in any language. Even critic Harold Bloom, I hope you are familiar with this name, included Neruda as one of the writers central to the Western tradition in his book, The Western Canon. So you can understand that how important he is for the country Chile. And you can see the picture of Pablo Neruda. So these are the primary informations you need. Let us give you some idea about the poem itself. I am using a website known as poemanalysis.com. So here's been a brief information about Pablo Neruda's Tonight I Can Write. What we have. So it is basically a poem which belonged to the generation of 1927, which is a group of Spanish poets. Different people have opined differently about Neruda, but the truth is that he won the hearts of millions by virtue of his poetry. Now, poets has this power. They are very popular. They win hearts because they speak in a different way. Uh, they are not just simple people. They have extraordinary eyes. They have extraordinary, thinking capacity. That's why they are very influential. Neruda is a great is compared when compared. Neruda become a much greater poet than Valio, who deserved recognition more. Though he lacked the ability to be critical and discerning yet, he was at times quite perceptive about his country and its poets. Besides, he was also regarded as a generous man, but he also had to face a lot of derision of his critics due to his loyalty to commission. And still his readers regard him as their most favorite poet. Neruda published some of his early poems in the 1920s in a student magazine, and however, it was 20 love poems and a song of despair. It is a much quoted Latin made him the much quoted Latin American poet. His popularity far surpassed any of his contemporaries, obviously, no doubt about it. Neruda's poetry has been translated into several languages. In India also it has been translated. It has been translated in Hindi, Bangla, Urdu and other regional languages. So what we have now, let us see the text first. I will show you the text first. The next class I will be dealing with the text itself and its analysis. Here is the original poetry. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Write, for example, night is shattered and the blue star shivers in the distance. The night wind revolves in the sky and sings. Tonight I can write the saddest line. I loved her and sometimes she loved me too. Through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. I kissed her again and again under the endless sky. She loved me sometimes and I love her too. How could one not have loved her great still eyes? Tonight I can write the saddest line. To think that I do not have her, to feel that I have lost her, to hear the immense night still more immense without her, and the verse falls to the soul like a dew to the pasture. What does it matter that my love could not keep her, that night is shattered and she is not with me? This is all in the distance, someone is singing in the distance, my soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. My sight searches for her as though to go to her, my heart looks for her and she is not with me. The same night whitening the same trees, we of that time are no longer the same. I no longer love her, that's certain. But how I loved her, my voice tried to find the wing to touch her hearing. Another's, she will be another's, like my kisses before, her bright body, her infinite eyes. I no longer love her, that's certain, but maybe I love her. Love is so short, forgetting is so long. Because through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. My soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. Though this be the last pain that she makes me suffer, and these the last verses that I write for her. So this is the original text of Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Line. So see you in the next class with the proper analysis and explanations. Thank you for watching this video, and Please like, share, and subscribe my channel and help me grow. Thank you.